Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's take up the daily quiz for today. The first question: which of the following statements are correct? The Hambantota port in Sri Lanka was developed by China. India and Japan have developed the East Container Terminal at the Colombo port. Sri Lanka is looking to offer the West Container Terminal at the Colombo port to the United States. Amongst the given statements, statement 2 and 3 are incorrect, so option A is the right answer. See, Sri Lanka, being located at the heart of the Indian Ocean, it is home to several strategic ports such as the Kake Senturai port, the Colombo port, the port of Hambantota, and the port of Trincomalee. As far as the development of these ports are concerned, India and China have been locked in a strategic competition over the last few years. India had rebuilt the Kake Senturai port, which had been damaged during the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami and as well as by the civil war which had affected the northern province of Sri Lanka. Over the years, the port of Trincomalee has seen investments from both India and China, and until recently, India was maintaining the oil tank farms located at the Trincomalee port. Then the strategic port of Hambantota, located in the southern part of Sri Lanka, has been developed by China, and reportedly it's a part of its string of pearls strategy that has been designed to encircle India. Then China has even invested heavily in the development of the Colombo port, and it has funded the construction of the CICT, or the Colombo International Container Terminal, located over here. Right next to the Colombo port, the East Container Terminal was supposed to be built jointly by India and Japan, but recently the Rajapaksa government in Sri Lanka had cancelled this project by citing local opposition, especially from the port worker unions, against the involvement of foreigners in the development of strategic national assets. This decision of Sri Lanka had left India and Japan very unhappy, and along with this, the Rajapaksa government had decided to end India's involvement in maintaining the oil tank farms at the Trincomalee port. And along with that, it had recently handed over a set of renewable energy projects on a group of three islands near the Jaffna Peninsula, which is located closer to the Indian coast. And these renewable energy projects have been handed over to a Chinese company. These recent developments concerning strategic infrastructure projects in Sri Lanka had left India a little worried, and in this backdrop, it has been reported in this article in today's The Hindu newspaper that Sri Lanka is going to offer the development of the West Container Terminal to India and Japan. Compared to the East Container Terminal, which was taken away from India and Japan, the West Container Terminal will be built from scratch, and a higher stake would be given to the Indian and the Japanese companies that would be involved in the project. So it appears that Sri Lanka might have taken this decision to please India and Japan, which were left unhappy with the previous decisions of the Sri Lankan government, at a crucial time when Sri Lanka is going to face a hard time at the UN Human Rights Council, where it is facing allegations of committing gross human rights violations during the last phase of the civil war. So Sri Lanka would definitely be looking for India's support at the UNHRC, and it might be trying to strike a balance between India and China as far as such strategic infrastructure projects are concerned. Now let's look at the second question. Which of the following statements are correct? Proceedings of the Parliament have been broadcast live since the 1980s. To facilitate these live broadcasts, LSTV and RSTV were set up in 1989. Recently, LSTV and RSTV have been merged to form the Sunset TV based on the recommendations of the Surya Prakash Committee. Among the given statements, the second statement is incorrect, so option C would be the right answer. See, few select proceedings of the Parliament was being live broadcasted since 1989. Initially, the President's address and joint sittings and such select proceedings would be broadcasted live by Doordarshan. And from 1994, regular broadcasts began, including the question hour and the overall proceedings of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. But these broadcasts were being carried out by Doordarshan and DD News for several years, and it was only in 2006 that a dedicated channel was set up for this purpose, known as LSTV, or the Lok Sabha TV. This initiative was taken up by the then Lok Sabha Speaker Somnath Chatterjee, and this was followed up by the Rajya Sabha in 2011 by establishing the RSTV, or the Rajya Sabha TV. But recently, the government proposed the merger of LSTV and RSTV, and to look into this proposal, it constituted a committee under the chairmanship of Surya Prakash, who has worked as the former head of Prasar Bharati. Based on the recommendations of the Surya Prakash Committee, the government has decided to merge LSTV and RSTV into one single channel known as the Sunset TV. These live broadcast sessions bring the parliament closer to the public, and it not only helps in promoting greater awareness amongst the common man, but it also empowers the public to hold the parliament and the elected representatives accountable. This question has been asked because we have a related article in today's The Hindu newspaper. Now let's look at the third question. Negev LMGs or light machine guns that are being inducted into the Indian Army has been procured from which country? The correct answer is option B, Israel. The Negev LMGs are manufactured by IWI or the Israeli Weapons Industries. The Indian Army had signed a contract with IWI to procure the Negev LMGs, and the first lot of 6,000 weapons have been handed over to the Indian Army and they are currently being inducted. Now let's look at the fourth question. Which of the following statements are correct? The Himalayan serow is a subspecies of the mainland serow and is native to the Himalayas. It is a high altitude dweller usually found 2000 to 4000 meters above sea level. The mainland serow is listed as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List and has also been listed in CITES Appendix 1. All the three statements are correct. Option D is the right answer. This question has been asked because there is a related article in the Hindu newspaper. According to this article, the Himalayan serow has been spotted in Assam, and this animal that you can see over here is a subspecies of the mainland serow, which has been listed as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List. The mainland serow is native to the Himalayas, to China and parts of Southeast Asia. The Himalayan serow is a subspecies of this mainland serow and it is native only to the Himalayas. It's basically a mammal that resembles a goat, a pig, an antelope or a cow, and it is found in high altitude areas that are located 2000 to 4000 meters above the sea level. Now let's take up a question from the 2020 prelims paper. With reference to India's Desert National Park, which of the following statements are correct? It is spread over 2 districts. There is no human habitation inside the park. It is one of the natural habitats of the great Indian bustard. Amongst the given statements, 1 and 3 are correct, so option C would be the right answer. See, the Desert National Park in Rajasthan is spread over Jaisalmer and Barmer, and it is one of the natural habitats of the great Indian bustard, which is critically endangered. But however, when it comes to protected areas such as National Park, it's only in the core area or the core region that human habitation is not allowed. But however, in the buffer zone, human habitation can be found, and hence the second statement is incorrect. Now coming to the fact of the day, we shall talk about the Atal Innovation Mission. This mission was launched by Niti Aayog, and it's a flagship initiative of the Government of India to promote the culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in the country. Its objective is to promote the spirit of innovation and nurture entrepreneurship by working with all the concerned stakeholders, including the private industry, the research institutions, the students, the startups of the country, etc. It hopes to create a platform to promote innovation and entrepreneurship in order to promote research and development in the country, which in turn can directly boost growth in the economy in different sectors. Under this mission, several major initiatives have been taken up, including the Atal Tinkering Labs. Through these labs, the culture of innovation is promoted among school children by working with the private industry and the research institutions. Then we have Atal Incubation Centers, where startups receive government support and they help nurture and incubate entrepreneurial initiatives that are bringing out transformative innovations that can disrupt the economy. Next, we have Atal New India Challenges, under which support is given for product innovations based on the needs and the requirements of various sectors of the economy and various ministries of the government. Then, under the Mentor India campaign, a national mentor network is created by working with the public sector, the private industry, and the research institutions in order to extend support to all the initiatives under the Atal Innovation Mission. Then, Atal Community Innovation Centers are set up in order to extend the mission to unserved and underserved regions of the country, especially Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Then, under the ARISE initiative, Innovation and research in the MSME sector is supported by the Niti Aayog. This topic is in news because according to this press release from the Niti Aayog, Atal Innovation Mission has tied up with MathWorks to strengthen the deep tech startup ecosystem in the country. MathWorks is a leading developer of mathematical computing software, and the Niti Aayog has tied up with this company under the Atal Innovation Mission to help further promote innovation in Indian startups, especially those startups which are working on deep tech. This would benefit several sectors of the economy, such as automotive, aerospace, electronics, renewable energy, financial services, and several other industries. So, this concludes our discussion for the day. Thanks for watching.